Hello, good evening, and welcome back one more time for In the Know, brought to you by the Racing Post and Coral. And a very happy Valentine's Day to you all. Singletons, people who've fallen out with the missus before you've gone out for dinner already, or people who love horse racing more than anything else in the world. A very good evening to you. We've got our second of our Cheltenham preview shows coming up over the next hour or so, and hopefully we can find a few angles for you lovebirds out there and pay for those overinflated flowers and chocolates. Thank you for everyone for joining us tonight. It is live and interactive, of course, live on YouTube and on Facebook, so please do get in touch. But as it's Valentine's Day, let's keep everything positive and loving. Please do put a smile on our faces with your selections this evening on that chat box. My name is Ross Brierley. I'll be here for the next hour or so in the company of some top judges and a very special guest indeed. We'll be looking back at what happened this weekend. We'll be looking forward to Ascot and Haydock, and we'll be looking at the Champion Chase, the Arkle and the Supreme Novices Hurdle as well. So any thoughts or feelings or questions or angles for those races, do get them in. But keep them short and snappy, as the chat box does get pretty lively. It's quite hard to find them once the show gets going. And of course, don't forget, like and subscribe to that Racing Post YouTube channel. Without further ado, who'll be joining me on this most romantic of evenings in the studio? Well, who could wish for a better partner? If roses are red and violets are blue, and tonight's studio guest is very much silver. It's the one and only Mr. Graeme Rodway.
Yeah, thanks for the big build-up, Russ. It's great to be back, isn't it, on Valentine's night?
Yeah, have you... are the cards and chocolate on the outside, or...?
Yeah. I must have forgot them. No, like same as for my missus this morning. She didn't get any flowers, or not even a card.
No.
She didn't buy me one either, so...
Oh, well, I mean, hopefully she can get some anti-post tips from you, perhaps.
Well, it's not the first time in her life that she had to play second fiddle to my first love, which, of course, is horse racing, Ross.
Well, thank you. Thanks for joining us, Graeme. It's getting to... starting to hot up. Admittedly, the races we're talking about tonight are very good, but very top-heavy market-wise. Yeah,
they are, yeah. They look... the market's all over them. The markets are well set, and... it's hard to find any angles, but we'll try.
We will try. Yeah. We'll always try. God loves a trier. But Graeme Rodway then in the studio for tonight, and we're joining us live from home. It is, of course, the world's most romantic bird. It's a seagull. It's Tom Segal, to be specific. Good evening to you, Tom.
I'm not romantic, I can assure you of that. No Valentine's cards here, that's for sure.
Yeah, you've surprised me there, Tom. I thought you were a bore romantic, mate.
No, my missus is quite happy without Valentine's cards, I'm sure.
Okay, very well. Well, thanks. Thank you for joining. I mean, it's a good thing, really, because if you were romantic, you might not be here tonight.
Correct. Yeah, I'd be off and I wouldn't be doing this. But I'm glad to be here. We've got some great races to look at. Special guest coming up in a sec, and yeah, it's good stuff to chat about.
Yeah, it is. Champion Chase, Arkle, Supreme Novices. You obviously got some. I know you've definitely got strong views in the latter of those three. Do you think without obviously telling us what they're going to be, do you think there's any air in those markets?
Yeah, probably not. Maybe the Champion Chase. I think it would be hard to get Shishkin beat myself. The Arkle, I think, is quite interesting now because I actually think it's a race we might well keep at home this year. Did it last year with Shishkin, but I think the Irish form isn't brilliant, and I thought the horses that ran at Warwick on Saturday were very good.
Okay, yeah, well, we'll get to that very shortly. Of course, Edward Stone was a very good winner at the weekend. We'll be having a look at the likes of the Game Spirit Chase, of course, and the Denman Chase and the Betfair Hurdle, and much more besides, and whether they will impact the Cheltenham markets in the next few weeks or so. But let's introduce you to the third member of our team. There will be a fourth coming up a little bit later on. But one man who was part of a team who were definitely wiping sweat off the brow in relief after a couple of winners at the weekend. It's been a tough few weeks for the Paul Nicholls team, but Harry Derham joins us in the studio tonight, assistant to Paul Nicholls, of course, with a big smile on his face after two winners on Saturday, I'm sure, Harry.
Yeah, it was good. Nice to have a couple of winners, as you say. A few quiet weeks, but a couple of nice winners on Saturday. So hopefully, it struck me like all the horses on Saturday ran their races. So that was obviously very, very good to see.
Yeah, absolutely. And before we get into that, are you a romantic man, Harry?
Have a girlfriend, but she lives in London, so not seeing her this evening.
All right, very well. You should have said you could have come into the studio, but give us a shout next time. As for
thanks.
that's all right. As for the weekend, like I said, it was a fairly publicised dry spell for the yard, but Bravemansgame and Red Risk over at Utoxeter were pretty impressive. Do you know why you went a bit quiet, or is it just one of those things?
I think it's something that you can look into for weeks on end, and you'd probably never get the exact answer, to be honest with you. Paul's got a couple of little theories, but one of those things. I mean, I think Paul probably makes a rod for his own back. He's so consistent normally. And I think until that little spell, he was operating at about 29% strike rate this season. So had a little drop off of form. The weirdest thing was that all the horses' bloods were fine. They weren't snotty, they weren't coughing or anything. So it obviously wasn't anything serious. But, as I said, it looked like they all ran their race on Saturday. So hopefully, whatever it was is behind them. We had a horse run Plumpton today after a long layoff, finished second, ran a lovely race. So we're obviously very, very optimistic that is behind us, and the horses look great. So hopefully we'll have a good spring.
Yeah, and as Paul said yesterday as well, it's not the worst time of the year, is it, to have a quiet time? And like you said, so I mean, if you're always at the top of your game, you can only fall down, can't you?
Yeah, I get his point about it's not the worst time, but I can assure you we don't like it happening. And every day that it was happening, we were doing our utmost to make sure it didn't last long. And it was frustrating, and it was extremely frustrating for the boss, because he sets such a high standard for himself all the time, and for those couple of weeks the horse is just not quite finishing their races as we hope. It was annoying, but hopefully standards and will continue to sort of be high, and our horses will run really well to the end of the season. That's our hope, and the Saturday boded well for that, really.
Okay, yeah, of course, the whole season isn't just about Cheltenham, but tonight certainly is, so we'll focus on horses that may well go there. Of course, we'll start off with Bravemansgame, who is amassing quite the fan club, especially with his jumping, Harry. Another flawless round at Newbury at the weekend. Has he come out after the race, and all systems go for Cheltenham? May we also see him at other festivals over the spring? What's the update on him?
So he's come out of the race fine. Obviously had a very quiet day today and have a quiet week. It doesn't actually take that much training for a big horse. You just sort of tip away quietly with him, but he's come out of the race great. This season, it's very, very rare with horses that a season goes as well to plan as it has with him so far. I mean, everything that Paul sort of thought with him has gone right, which has been great. He's got a great mind. He jumps fantastically well. I thought him and Harry, I think it was their fourth chase, and it was the first time I think they had a slight disagreement on Saturday, just at the first down the back and the first in the straight. He just put in an extra stride, but he does everything right. Thought it was a good performance to give that much weight away. It was two horses behind him, all right. They're not they're not sort of Grade 1 horses, but they're progressive horses that were in good form. So I think he did well to beat them. And Harry's of the opinion that making his own running is fine, but it doesn't see him to his best effect, because he just gets a bit lazy and a bit idle in front. And definitely from the last of the line, I think you could see that he was just saving a little bit, and Harry just asked him for as much as he needed to. He was very, very conscious that he didn't want to give him a very hard race, and just you could see up the straight he felt like he had things under control without going and doing anything silly. So that was great, and we'll go to Cheltenham now, all being well, and hopefully his jumping, the way he travels, he looks like he has a turn of foot for a 3-miler, so you'd like to think he'd have a really competitive chance.
Yeah, of course. Everything went fantastically well last year over hurdles, and then you got to Cheltenham and were roughed up by the Irish challengers, as it were. Are you? You're going to know pretty much what you're coming up against this time around. Do you have a plan how to deal with them, or is it just taking it as it goes on the day?
I'm sure Paul and Harry will think about it, but I don't think you can think about. I think if you think about it too much, sort of tactics-wise, you can end up messing your own race up. brave man travels well, he jumps well. You know, those Grade 1 races, generally the best horse wins. There's not normally many hard luck stories. So you obviously respect the Irish challenge very, very much, and they'll be very tough to beat. But he's a lovely horse to go there with, and if he jumps like he does and puts in a performance, you know, like he has been all season, then you'd like to think he'd be very, very competitive.
We'll stick with a similar type of horse before we move on to a couple that might be running at the weekend, Harry. But obviously, if you didn't have Bravemansgame, then Threeunderthrufive would be a pretty talented staying 3-mile novice chaser as well. On a line through Bravemansgame, how good is he, and what's the plan with him?
He's a very, very nice horse. He's not really done anything wrong this season. I think Brave Man is probably the quicker of the two horses. In fact, I don't think there's any doubt about that. But Threeunderthrufive has just kept progressing. Adrian said that was the best feel he gave him at Warwick last time. And I think, you know, he's not attracted masses of attention or anything like that through this season just because he's just gone about his business. If he ran in a 0 to 100, he wouldn't win 20 lengths. He just does as much as he needs to do. Tough horse. Touchwood, his jumping, I think, has got better throughout the season. Stays very well. So the plan is Cheltenham, whether he goes in the 3-mile 6 or the 3-mile, I'd imagine he'll go in the 3-mile. But yeah, he's a very good horse in his own right, has done very, very little wrong, and he keeps progressing.
Okay, as for this weekend, of course, a couple of decent targets for you, potentially with St Calvados and Montmoral. We'll start off with St Calvados, who hasn't been in the stable for very long, of course, but a very encouraging run at the back end of last year. And tell us, is he ready for Ascot? And if he goes and performs there, how do you deal with a horse like Allaho?
Oh God, that's an entirely different question. Since Kempton drove Paul back that night, and he said to me that he thought that the Ascot Chase would be a good place to go, 2-mile 5 on a sort of stiff track. So we've trained him for this race. He looks in superb nick, and he's trained really well for it. You know, he obviously ran very, very well in the King George and off such a long layoff. So you'd like to think he could just progress a little bit. I think Ascot could suit really well. I feel like 2-mile 5 on a stiff track is going to be right up his street. And as I say, Paul's trained him for this, so all systems go, and we're really looking forward to running him in what looks a competitive race. But you know he looks very much one of the leading contenders.
In contrast, Montmoral a little bit disappointing last time we saw him. But the Kingwell is a race, of course, that the Nicholls stable have a pretty good history with. How's he looking ahead of the weekend?
I would say it's tentative entry at the moment. He cut into himself at Newcastle. Now, whether or not that explains his performance, you'd imagine that it probably hurt him, and he wasn't going from quite some way out. So Sean was on him on the day and was convinced that he was some way below par. So he had a bit of time off after that, and Paul, I'm pretty sure, is just basically trying to get a run into him before going to Aintree for the 2.5-mile Grade 1 hurdle there. So whether or not he goes to Wincanton, he'll have to work in the week and see how Paul is happy with him. But I would suggest whether he goes this week or next, he'll improve a fair chunk for that. And with the idea being, we'll go to Aintree in the spring. It's always, with a horse like him, who obviously did so well last year, I don't think that having a quiet 4 or 5-year-old season is a bad thing for those horses, because it's always a notoriously difficult year for those juveniles. So he's had a quieter season. Hopefully come the autumn he'll go chasing, but we'll just have to see how he works in the week and see how he is in terms of going for this Saturday, or whether we wait a week.
Okay. And as for other horses who potentially turn up at Cheltenham in March, you've got a fair amount of younger novice hurdlers, headed by Stage Star, of course, who we didn't see at the weekend. Has that kind of put a spanner in the works a little bit with him?
I don't think so, no. And watching the racing, was very, very pleased that he was back in his stable, to be honest. It looked quite attritional, and he's a horse with a bit of pace and really good moving horse, lovely action, and I think probably really deep ground around a stiff track like that wouldn't have been exactly what he needed 4 weeks before Cheltenham. doesn't worry me, him not having a prep run. I don't think it will worry Paul too much either. He knows that he can get him absolutely right for the day. Lovely horse, has kept progressing. Harry is very much of the opinion he's not at the bottom of him yet. Every time he's sort of asked him for a bit more, he's given it to him, and he won the Cheltenham in really good style last time. I think he's a horse with a little bit of pace, which you probably need for the Ballymore. He's a really, really exciting horse, and I'd like to think he's got a huge chance at Cheltenham.
Okay. And just a few other names just to throw at you. Obviously, Mr. Glass was one of them. I thought it was quite interesting. Obviously, he's got talking about the Supreme Novices tonight, and he will obviously give you've got a line through Constitution Hill with him. And also, I was quite looking forward to Time White, potentially as a Grand Annual type. I don't know, you'll tell me. There's plenty of options for him, but any word on either of those two?
Yeah, well, Mr. Glass was beat the length of the straight by Constitution Hill at Sandown, so he wouldn't be surprised to be ran at Cheltenham. He's a smashing horse, and we love him, but he's probably a staying horse, really, who's going to end up being a chaser for next season. But in terms of the Supreme, he won't show up there. Time White is a lovely horse who won well at Doncaster last time, and we decided to just keep him back for Cheltenham, because if you're going to win a Grand Annual, you probably need to have a little bit up your sleeve. Strong traveller who looks to me like he's taken to chasing well, and Paul's just kept him back for this race. He'd appreciate a bit of nice ground, and hopefully going there, you don't know how much he's got up his sleeve, but it's one of those things that if he went and won again and went up a few pounds, well, then you probably aren't going to win the Grand Annual. So it was one of those that you just said, we'll just wait and train him for the race, and if he is progressing and he's a young horse, so he could, then he goes there with a competitive chance.
Okay, thanks for that, Harry. I'll throw it over to Tom or Graeme. I'll start off with Tom first. Any questions for Harry Derham, Tom?
Harry, Paul's notoriously very strong in the juvenile hurdle department. I saw Isio didn't run very well the other day behind Pied Piper, but you've got a couple of nice, interesting ones entered in the Triumph. Is there anything you can tell us about Pleasant Man? His form ties in pretty closely with Pied Piper, actually, on the flat. He was a very good horse, and the French horse of Tim Siders that's joined you as well, which I've forgotten his name of as we speak, but they seem interesting horses for the future.
Yeah, so the name you forget is Grivatana. She's a lovely mare who won first time out in France, won impressively. You wouldn't have known what she achieved by doing it, but she couldn't have done any more than she did on the day. She's entered this Saturday. Whether she goes, she'll have to work in the week and see what Paul thinks, see whether he's happy for her to go yet. She's not over big, but she's athletic, really good moving horse, and hopefully she's a nice prospect. Pleasant Man, we like very much. He will probably run on the 26th, all things being well, in the Adonis, which is obviously a path that Paul has taken before. He's a nice horse, has taken to jumping well. He only sort of gives you as much as you ask of him, but his work is good, and we do like him. So, he'd obviously have to go and run very, very well in the Adonis, if not win, to be running in the Triumph Hurdle. But it wouldn't surprise me if he did.
Fantastic stuff. Thank you, Harry. Graeme, any questions?
Yeah, hi Harry. I just wondered if you knew what the plans were for the Boodles this year, because it's obviously a race that Paul's done very well in the past. I remember Diego de Charmille famously won it, didn't he? In that mad race where they all sort of fell, didn't they, at the last fence? It was really weird. I've been keeping my eye on Irish Hill. What do you think about him? Is he planning to go to Cheltenham?
He's off 107 now, so unless he wins extremely impressively in the next couple of weeks, he'll struggle to get in. He was a bit disappointing at Ascot last time out, because we thought he'd probably step forward from Taunton, and he didn't. So he'd have to come back to form. Bell X1 is a new horse for us. Simona sent to us in December. He won a couple of juvenile hurdles in Ireland before the sort of winter ground kicked in. So the plan is to run him. I mean, he's as I say, he's been with us since December. We're not going to run him until Cheltenham, and hopefully he'll be a sort of lively outsider.
Okay, yeah, Bellex Swan, who's come over from Ireland, beat C Sessions, didn't it, back in October? Hasn't been seen for a while. So, I think that pretty much wraps it up. Obviously, Harry, you've got grand plans for yourself in the coming years as well. So, what's the biggest lesson you've learned from being assistant to Paul?
The biggest lesson I've learned.
I realise that's a real curveball at the end of the...
Yeah, that's an enormous curveball.
Doesn't have to be the biggest lesson, but Harry, is there anything that's...
Probably just work really hard, and every day is an important day. I mean, he's 12 times champion trainer, and he's trained thousands and thousands of winners, and every day to him is still very, very important. He still works extremely hard, and I think that sets an excellent example. So I think it'd probably be that.
Fantastic stuff. Well, Harry, I wish you the best of luck at Cheltenham and this weekend and in the future, and hopefully we'll speak again soon. And enjoy the rest of your Valentine's Day.
Thanks very much, gents. Cheers.
Lovely stuff. Harry Derham there joining us, assistant to Paul Nicholls with, I thought, a few fascinating updates there.
Yeah, I got a good answer there. I'm happy with that. I'm going back in now. What's it called? Bellex One or
Bellex Swan, there you go. Yeah. Civic celebration.
Oh, yeah, it's a different one to what I was looking at.
Yeah, you're looking at it thinking,
I had a different Bellex one that was trained by someone in Ireland. There you go.
Yeah, that was trained by someone in Ireland.
Oh, was it?
Anyway, we'll have a look at that afterwards. This is we're going to get into a strange disagreement. But Tom, has that changed any of your opinions on the Nicholls runners at all?
That was funny. That was a very, very funny moment there, Graeme. I enjoyed that. He was interesting about the Pleasant Man, wasn't he? I've been interested in him. I backed him when he ran against Pied Piper on the flat at Goodwood last year. He's a very high-class flat horse. He's rated 95, 96. I'd be surprised if he jumped in there. I don't think the juveniles are as good as people are telling me they are. They're telling me this Vauban's a certainty and this and that and the other. I'm not convinced. I think there's room at the top for a new face. Be interested to see what happens in the Adonis. He's done it before, hasn't he? And Paul's bought one out of the hat. So that was an interesting answer for me. And clearly Harry was very keen on Stage Star, wasn't he? I was sort of wondering how he compared to Bravemansgame at this stage. It seemed to me he thought he might be a little bit quicker over hurdles. He probably won't be a little bit quicker over fences because very few horses jump as well as Bravemansgame. But he was very sweet on him, and I don't think this. I wouldn't put it past him running a very big race in the Ballymore. We all sort of follow these trends. We can't be the Irish here. We can't do this. Can't do that. But got a good enough horse, you can do it. And I've been impressed with Stage Star. I think he'll run well.
Okay, let's have a little bit of a look back at the weekend then in a second. But a quick shout for the members club offer, of course, for the Racing Post. If you are going to be getting involved over the next few weeks, then you can get £15 for your first 3 months using the link in the video description. If you want to sign up to the Racing Post members club, of course, you'll get tips from the likes of Graeme and Tom, and plenty of exclusive interviews and plenty much more besides. Fantastic interview with Harry. We've got Graeme and Tom. And of course, we've got David Stevens, who's joining us from Coral, who's just had time to nip out and get a bunch of flowers and a card with that 25 minutes for that interview. Good evening to you, David.
Good evening, gents. Yes, I'm very much in the doghouse for this tonight, so it's going to cost me a fortune to get out of the doghouse. Got to take her away on holiday next week, but it's a pleasure to be here. Of course, I'm the envy of every man, woman, and everything in between spending the evening with you three guys.
Yeah, well, there you go. It's it really is it's a privilege, isn't it? Now, we had a real interesting weekend, didn't we? Let's have a quick look back at that Eldorado Allen, of course, Funambule Savola. We had a fantastic end to the Betfair Hurdle, and we had a couple of really nice horses over at Warwick. We'll get to the Arkle, of course, a little bit later on. Tom, I know you were impressed with Edwardstone at the weekend. Was there anything else that stood out for you that we won't be covering over the course of the next half an hour?
From the weekend?
From the weekend, yeah.
Yeah, Journey with Me was quite an interesting performance over at Nace, and a horse called Brazil that won. Well, there was three actually. There was in Ireland, Brazil, who won the opening juvenile hurdle. I thought he was really impressive. Don't know if he'll go up too much to be a Oodles contender, but he was by Galileo. He jumped really well and went clear in a nice time. So he'd be one I'd be interested in. Ciel de Liège, who jumped well and made a couple of mistakes, but normally jumps well and looks the type that might run in a handicap at the festival. I like novices in a handicap at the festival, so he might be a Grand Annual or a plate horse. I liked him. And then obviously the big horse in Ireland was Journey with Me. Wasn't very impressive, but they crawled over the first few hurdles, and you can only win like you did. He ran in the same race that City Island did before winning the Ballymore. He's obviously same owners, same trainers, same jockey as Bob Ollinger. Whether he's as good as Bob Ollinger, I doubt very much, but his form from his Leopardstown win when he beat Kilcrut and Manella, I'm going to get the wrong one now, Manella Crooner?
Crooner, I think it is, I think it's Crooner,
And when he beat them, he's worked out incredibly well, so he's obviously got to be a major player in the Ballymore, I would think.
Okay. Graeme, what stood out for you over the course of Saturday afternoon?
Yeah, I really enjoyed Saturday afternoon. Yeah, I thought it was great. Obviously, the highlight of the whole day was the bringing in water, winning for Sam Drinkwater, of course. Yeah, I mean, that stayed on really well to win. Eldorado,
one of those power packed rides I think I've ever seen. I know Sam Twiston-Davies, that's his style, but he wasn't letting that one go, was he?
No, that's right. Yeah, he booted that one home, didn't he?
Eldorado LN, of course, we were quite keen on him. He improved
he jumped well, didn't he?
Yeah, he jumped beautifully, as all Tizzards do improve for the trip. Would you have him as a Ryanair option?
He's not in the Gold Cup, is he? So he can't go for the Gold Cup unless they supplement. But I probably won't be good enough for that. Mr. Fisher beat him soundly enough at Kempton, didn't he? So the race, the Betfair Hurdle was a bit of a strange result, wasn't it? Glory and Fortune finished second behind Epatante in the Christmas Hurdle, so was way off the mark with the novices there. But
well, you tried to get them beat and did get them beat.
I tried to get them beat, couldn't find a reason to get them beat, and then they lost.
They got them beat, yeah. The other one I wanted to mention was Célèbre d'Allen, the chaser who won at Warwick for Philip Hobbs, Tom, who made it a hat-trick since coming back over to these shores. Obviously, he represents an owner as well, who's pretty well known for his landing a few touches in festival handicaps. Ballynagore, of course, one of the standouts a few years ago for David Pipe. Very rarely have I seen a horse come from that far back at Warwick when the front runners got loose on the lead and win so cosily.
Someone else mentioned him to me today. I don't think he'll be anywhere near good enough to win at the Cheltenham Festival myself. He'll go up £7 or £8. He's a 10-year-old now. Those plates now are won by Grade 1 horses. Generally, you've got a handy. The novices running there. You've had simply the bets runs in grade race. I know he's not a Grade 1 horse, but Noel Mead won it with a Grade 1 horse. Road to Respect. I just think they're really, really hard to win. If he hadn't gone there and was going in there off 135 or whatever, you'd give him a squeak. But I don't like run styles like that in any Cheltenham Festival. So he's not for me. But I can understand why people would see that with the connection with Ballynagore and the other one that should have won as well, but I can't remember the name of it. But no, he's not for me. I think going back to Eldorado Allen, I did think that the second ran well, Royal Pagaille. It was a good ground, sort of 3 mile speed test. Let's not forget Eldorado Allen was second in a Arkle. So he's a fast horse. He gave him first run, and I thought he was actually thought it was a better run than when he won the Peter Marsh. I thought he was staying on really well at the line. I think 3 miles on good ground around Newbury wouldn't be his forte. And I think if he got soft in the Gold Cup, I'd give him an each way shot. I don't think they should have pushed him out. I don't think it was a 33-1 shot at all, Royal Pagaille, if it came up soft at Cheltenham. I was impressed with him on Saturday. Just the way he kept at it after the last suggested to me that he was going to peak for Cheltenham, and I think he'll run well.
Yeah, he was really taken off his feet early, wasn't he? He couldn't quite get into that rhythm with Eldorado Allen using that early pace. David, we're saying he was pushed out. What were the biggest market moves, either positive or negative? And was there anything you liked from the weekend?
Yeah, look, Eldorado Allen was fantastic, given our involvement, obviously, with the Tizzard Yard. It was quite amusing afterwards. Colin was there with John Romans, the owner, and John loves his racing, says, look, the Gold Cup's the race. We'll have to consider supplementing. And apparently Joe is sat at home, was spitting his tea out, I think. He's like, what are those crazy people talking about? We're all getting a bit carried away. But whether he's Ryanair or whether they do supplement for the Gold Cup, he was fantastic on Saturday. That was great. See, I agree with Tom. I thought Royal Pagaille ran a cracker on race on ground he wouldn't have appreciated. Although having said that, I think he will need soft ground at Cheltenham to win a Gold Cup. He was great. Edwardstone, which we'll come on to, was the big mover, obviously, in terms of anti-post betting. And the Betfair Hurdle, we all thought it was full. Well, it was full of unexposed novices that could be anything. And the rather well-exposed Glory and Fortune went to beat them all at 20-1. So I thought it was a fantastic day's racing there. Just to clear up a couple of, obviously, from the Harry Derham interview there about the Paul Nicholls runners. they are over their dodgy spell, you'd have to say. A couple of winners at the weekend. Paul Nicholls obviously goes there. Bravemansgame is his obvious big hope. He's 3-1 for the Brown Advisory. 3Underthrufive is interesting. Harry thought he could well end up in the 3-miler as well. He's 14-1 for that. He's 12-1 for the National Hunt Chase. Stage Star is a 9-1 shot for the Ballymore. And Pleasant Man could be the dark horse. He'll run in the Adonis, the Coral-sponsored Adonis next weekend. He's a 33-1 shot for the Triumph Hurdle at this stage. So they'll probably go there with a few good chances. Paul tends not to waste his bullets at Cheltenham these days. But we have got lots of In the Know specials on the website. Check them all out. But there is one, of course, around the champion trainer, Paul Nicholls. And Paul to have 3 or more winners at the festival was 8-1, is now out to 10-1. So if you fancy our champion trainer to get on the score sheet 3 or more times, 10-1 the price.
Of course, he had 0 winners last year, didn't he? So pressure's on for this season. But we're going to move on to the 3 races. One more that just sprang to mind as well was First Street. I thought ran a lovely Coral Cup trial in at the Betfair Hurdle at the other weekend as well. So probably worth keeping an eye on him. But let's move on to the 3 races we're going to be covering ahead of the festival. Starting off with the Queen Mother Champion Chase, and hopefully, fingers crossed, a rematch between Shishkin and Energamine, 4-7 and 5-2 respectively for the championship race on day 2. Shakenpour Soir is 6-1, Envoy Allen is 10-1, Nube Negra is 10-1, Grenadine 14's Hitman 16-1, Put the Kettle On also 16-1 to try and defend her title, and bigger prices the rest. We'll come to you first, Mr. Segal. Champion Chase, Shishkin versus Energamine. Best horse race we've ever seen since horse racing ever began. Apparently last time out. That might be getting a little bit carried away, but it was a cracking finish. Clearly 2 incredibly talented horses, and Funambule Sivilla and Eldorado Allen didn't do Shishkin's profile too much harm at the weekend.
No, I think Shishkin is an absolute superstar. I don't think Energamine will beat him at Cheltenham. I think he's very, very likely to win, and I think he'll probably win comfortably. I think Cheltenham suits him perfectly. I know they say it's a furlong shorter and all those sort of stuff. He'll all suit him perfectly. Energamine's got no form around Cheltenham now. That might mean nothing. All these Irish horses come over and we've never seen them run it. They've never been at Cheltenham before and they win. So it's probably an overrated factor. Having run at Cheltenham before, but I do think Shishkin is just a world beater. I think he's one of the best horses I've ever seen, and I'll be surprised if he gets beaten. The one thing you would say is going to be, I think there'll be a handful of runners. I think there'll be 5, 6, 7 runners, but I think there'll be tons of pace on. I think Energamine, Shakenpour Soir is not going to be held up. He doesn't like being held up. Editor de Geet might run. He's a serious front runner, so I think there'll be tons of pace on there. So I think it is set up for a horse to pick the kettle on. Last year's winner might run as well. So it is set up for a horse to sort of pick up some pieces late on. I personally think Nube Negra will run well and fits that profile to come and sort of pick up 2nd or 3rd maybe behind Shishkin, but I don't think he can beat him. I think it's pretty straightforward. I think Shishkin wins, and I think simple as that.
Fair enough, yeah. I mean, inclined to agree, really, yeah. But, I can't remember the last time I saw a 2-mile chase at Grade 1 level, or probably even Grade 2 or Grade 3 level that had a double-figure field. I mean, that's obviously a talking point for the National Hunt season in general, but the class rises to the top and the rest of them can't get involved.
Yeah, and obviously with a horse like Shishkin around, you might be half tempted to look elsewhere if you had a horse that you think might stay 2.5.
You can understand them running scared of a horse like Shishkin, can't you?
Well, you can, yeah. I mean, he's, well, what more can you say about him? And Tom's already said he's an absolute superstar, isn't he? And he confirmed it last time at Ascot. Keith Melrose, our betting editor, was absolutely convinced that they didn't go fast enough on Energamine, and he thought that Shishkin outsped him up the running, which I thought was an interesting way of looking at it. I think, however they would have ridden Energamine, Shishkin would probably have still found a way of beating him.
Yeah.
Because Energamine appeared to have him beaten, didn't he? And then Shishkin just found that turbo to come past him near the line, and they just looked miles clear of everything else in the race. I have had a bet in the race, back Nube Negra each way, same as Tom. He's all his best form is fresh. He should have won last year's champion chase. He was unlucky. Skelton obviously has put him off since the Tingle Creek. He's going to have him bang there fit and firing on the day, and I'm certain he'll run well. I think he'll be placed, but he's not going to beat Shishkin, and he'll probably struggle to beat Energamine. So let's hope that the you can get 3 places now, can't you, each way, if only 6, 7 turn up.
What's the angle with Envoy Allen, are we thinking? Because obviously we haven't seen him since Leopardstown. It was a workmanlike performance, but it was a strong performance, sort of numbers wise. Ryanair, he's got Allaho to beat here. He's got Shishkin to beat, but he's 2 from 3 at the festival. He fell before we knew what was going to happen last year.
He sort of
is he too good a horse to be 10 to 1?
At Leopardstown, he sort of come under it and you thought, oh, is he going to get beat here at Leopardstown?
Yeah.
And then he powered home. Oh, yeah, he's not good enough, is he, against this sort of quality of opposition? In a weak year, you might have said he had an outside chance, but it's definitely not a weak year, is it?
No, it's not. It's possibly possibly one of the strongest years we've seen in quite a while. Struggling to find a way into to beat Shishkin. Quite a few people are with Nube Negra on the chat. Quite a few Skelton fans at home. Trevor Meek says he's giving Shackard one more chance at the prices, and Sam Caney said it's sad what's happened to Envoy. Of course, his career has gone a little bit off the rails. But David, Shishkin in all the multis, I'm sure, and we could see a small field as well. Is he beatable?
I know there's going to be a lot of repetition here, what the other 2 guys have said, because I agree with every single word they've said. That you look at the way Shishkin's come up the hill at 2 previous festivals, and I think it is a plus. And the fact that Energumene hasn't come over is just another tick in Shishkin's favour over him. And that race at Ascot was one for the ages. I mean, I know you were slightly tongue-in-cheek there saying, best horse race ever, but it was one for the ages that a whole generation of race fans will be talking about for a long, long time. And we'll be very, very lucky if they serve up something as thrilling at the festival. And of the rest, I can't have Chacun Pour Soi 2 runs over here, and he's disappointed both times, albeit Willie Mullins seems to think there maybe isn't a lot between his pair. I'm a big Nube Negra fan. I was on him last year. That probably, Graeme, was our day. And it wasn't our day, of course, but it perhaps should have been. But I can see him running into a place this time. But yeah, Shishkin, he looks magnificent. And it's incredible, really, off the back of Sprinter Sacra, Altior, and now Shishkin, how Nicky Henderson has got yet another brilliant 2-miler. The other 2 didn't let punters down, and I'd be mighty surprised if this one does.
Shishkin then is 4-7 for the champion chase. We all think he wins, but the each way alternative potentially, Graeme?
Yeah, you get 3 places on Nube Negra, and I think you've got a good chance of him making the 3 on the day. So that's what I've done.
With 7 runners as well.
Yeah, exactly. And who knows? You never know. It's a horse race. Anything can happen. Yeah. We've seen it happen before.
Yeah, and to be fair, I know he's fallen Shishkin over hurdles, and I know he won that Supreme Novices, but a lot went wrong, didn't it? And he had to pull plenty out of the fire on the day. Tom?
Yeah, Shishkin for me. I think there's plenty that can finish in the frame. Nube Negra, I thought the horse that ran on Saturday, Gamble de Sevilla, I can't speak these days. I think that will run well, and I like Editor de Geet as well. I think he's a really good horse. I think he's definitely graded class. Could see him running into the frame as well.
Yeah, it's a shame he didn't get to test his credentials at the weekend, because he could have halved in price at that. Shishkin then is a 4-7 shot for the champion chase. I kind of hope Envoy Allen turns up and runs somewhere near his previous best. I don't think he's good enough to beat Shishkin, but it would be nice to see him. Before we move on, David, can we have a price boost, please?
Yes, indeed. Just a bit of housekeeping there. Funambula Civilla is 20 to 1. Editor Jujit is 25 to 1. If you want both of the Willie Mullins runners, you can have 2 to 1 from 6 to 4. But Shishkin to win the champion chase by more than 5 lengths. See him powering up that hill. Was 2 to 1, now 5 to 2. So a dominant Shishkin performance. Over 5 lengths, 5 to 2.
Okay, very well. Of course, he did win the Arkle by 12, so it can be done. Shishkin then 5 to 2 from 2 to 1 to win the champion chase by over 5 lengths. Shishkin then, who of course won the Supreme, won the Arkle, might well win the champion chase, and could we see an Arkle contender this year going on to throw down a challenge to him next year? Well, let's find out. So this year's lineup, of course, with the absence of Fernie Hollow, now headed by the 8-year-old Edwardstone, 2 to 1. Blue Lord 11 to 4. Riviera de Tell is 4 to 1. Horton Calor is 8 to 1. Saint Sam 10 to 1. Third Time Lucky 14 to 1. 20 to 1 Ciel de Neige. And 25's Brave Shashka, and bigger prices the rest. And Alan King, of course, in the Arkle. A few years ago, that would have been a pretty strong Angle, wouldn't it? In fact, I'm going to come to you, Graeme, for this one first, because My Way de Solzen and Voiporu Stedes were winners for him.
Yep.
Been a long time between drinks in this race since mine, but I mean, what a chance he's got this year.
Yeah, long time since his last Cheltenham Festival winner. 2015, Uxazandra was his last Cheltenham Festival winner. Alan King. Of course, Tony McCoy's last Cheltenham Festival winner as well.
More Royal Ascot winners than Cheltenham Festival winners, which would have been a surprise.
Yeah, you know, he'll be absolutely desperate to get back on the Cheltenham score sheet, won't he, Alan King? And for me, is the question about this horse now. Edward Stone, he obviously won 4 in a row. Whatever you chuck at him, he seems to be able to take it, doesn't he, and throw it back in your face. They rode third time lucky from the back the other day at Warwick, trying to pick him off late, and he said bye-bye. They rode him from the front at Sandown, and he said bye-bye. Yeah, he's just absolutely rock solid, 2-mile chaser. You know he's going to turn up, run his race, run to a certain level, and it's a pretty high level in a fairly weak Arkle, I think, Ross, don't you?
Yeah, it looks, again, it's just a bit...
I think
there's nothing down when I'm thinking, oh yeah, that could improve. I was hoping for a big run from Brave Shashki. You thought that could actually, if that went down fighting, beaten half a length by Edward Stone or something at the weekend, you think, oh, okay.
Tom's already sort of half mentioned what I think is going to be one of the themes of the festival, is that there almost seems to be like this assumption that all the Irish horses are just better than the British horses because they won 23-5 last year. But as a result, I think a lot of Irish horses that possibly aren't as good as the British ones are going to be overbet, and I think we've got a couple in here, for sure. Yeah. I mean, Blue Lord is among the favourites, and I don't think he's that good. He would have got beaten last time by Riviere de Tel. Riviere de Tel was beaten by Fernie Hollow. Fernie Hollow giving it lumps of weight. And
she didn't get up the hill last year in the Fred Winter. I mean,
didn't look that way, did it?
She went. I mean, she was far too keen. Clearly, a much better horse this year.
But yeah, these two look overbet Irish horses to me, just on the point that they've won all the big Irish races, and everyone's going, oh, well, Irish horses will just win everything at Cheltenham.
Well, I mean, if Fernie Hollow was here, Blue Lord they'd be twice or 3 times the price, wouldn't they?
Yeah,
obviously, he's not.
Well, but put it this way: if Edward Stone had run in that race at Leopardstown against Blue Lord and Riviere de Tel, I think he'd have won it easily.
Okay. Edward Stone is a 2-1 shot, then Blue Lord is 11-4. Riviere de Tel is 4-1. You were impressed with Edward Stone. Seemed to put in a very strong figure, a very strong performance, and like Graeme says, Tom, left-handed, right-handed, stiff, sharp track, whatever. He seems to do it.
Yeah, he's class, isn't he, Edward Stone? I was really impressed. I've been banging on about him since before he ran. Well, basically after Sandown, but before he ran at Kempton on Boxing Day or the day after Boxing Day. I thought he was a cracking bet for the Arkle then. I've nothing he's done since or has made me change my mind about that. I mean, he's top class, isn't he? The figures are not quite Shishkin-esque at Kempton, but they weren't far off. He ran in a similar time up there. He wasn't quite as quick up the straight as Shishkin, but he was pretty fast. He's a very, very good horse, this. I think Third Time Lucky has a small chance at Cheltenham, simply because he likes Cheltenham. Third Time Lucky, his 2 best performances. I mean, he's ran well at 2 festivals in the past, 4th in a bumper and 5th in a county hurdle when he was just behind Edward Stone, actually. But if you watch the race again, he travelled through the race a lot better than Edward Stone. I just wonder if they went really hard and Harry Skelton dropped him in out the back and he sort of came through late on, he'd have a chance. But I don't think he stays as well as Edward Stone. So I'm a massive Edward Stone fan. I think this is his race to lose, but it's a novice chase, so people at home don't need to be told that. I'm just
going to throw in just the couple of things that are potential. Because obviously we've got a 2-1 favourite here, so we've got to try and think what could get him beat. He's an 8-year-old up against horses who could potentially improve. I mean, he's set a very good standard, but you get the feeling that's the standard. He's not going to get any better come Cheltenham, and of course that record for the yard as well. You get to the festival and you think, oh, Alan King's got a chance, and your Mullins and your Hendersons just eat them up.
They do. Yeah, they have done over the years, but, he's probably never had a better chance than Edward Stone in that time. Smaller trainers than Alan King are having winners at Cheltenham. So I think he's one of our best trainers. I mean, anyone who can have as many winners on the flat as he does and over jumps, I think he's an absolute superstar, Alan King. So I won't have a word said against his horses. I don't see that as an issue. 8-year-old, yeah, but he's still, 8-year-old in any other race, you'd say as a young horse, wouldn't you? Just
It was more that there's younger horses who could improve, that rather than, it's not that he's too old, it's just that the others might have a little bit more to come that we haven't seen yet.
Yeah, I suppose that 5-year-old that fell early on in the Arkle in Ireland, Oton Color, and was third in the Triumph last year is one that we don't know about. You know, I know that the Mullins team think that he's got a load of potential, and perhaps in the long term is better than the ones that, you know, the St. Sam's and Blue Lords. So we don't know about him. He's probably one that, you know, could put in a performance off the charts that we haven't seen yet. But apart from him, I'm struggling to find one that I think could beat Edwardstone on anything he's shown so far.
Okay, Edwardstone is a 2-to-1 shot. We'll mention a few others. Luke Salmon says, I think Edwardstone would have been lapped by Blue Lord, to be honest. So I think the guys are mad. Well, I mean, we might well be mad. We are sat in here on Valentine's Day, after all, Luke Salmon. And given your name, it's you should be swimming upstream against us. So fair enough. Edwardstone 2-to-1. Blue Lord. Yeah, I mean, again, we haven't seen that much of him. Obviously, quite a bit went wrong over hurdles for him. And I don't necessarily think Riviera Dutel would have beat him had she jumped better. He did kind of quicken past her and was idling a little bit on the run-in. He could have more to offer. What I want to have a quick mention, which we talked about off air a little bit, was Cur Sublime.
Yes.
Who was second in the Triumph a few years ago behind Pentland Hills and has run into Ferny Hollow a couple of times, but gave Ferny Hollow a real race on Chase debut. That second run, I got a feeling it was you two crack on, and I'll see you. I'll see you come Cheltenham, a fresh horse. Didn't beat much last time out, but Ordinary World for the same owner finished third behind Altior a few years ago. I think 25-1. About Cur Sublime, potentially a little bit overpriced.
Yeah, he did shake up Ferny Hollow for a bit, and then Ferny Hollow left him behind on the running, didn't he? It depends how good do you think Ferny Hollow is, really, doesn't it? If you think
I think he would have lapped this lot personally.
You think he's like Blue Lord?
I think he would have beat. I think he would have beat all of them at Ferny Hollow.
Yeah, if you think Ferny Hollow then would have won, then I suppose Cur Sublime is your next best. Will he run? We had this discussion, didn't we?
Well, it's only because the owner had similar horses who...
You think he's quite an ambitious owner, don't you?
Yeah, he ran. I think that horse ran 20 times in graded company over fences, never in handicap company. Cur Sublime's the same. It's kind of like, I think he gets the feeling, why not? Ordinary World placed, I think, 6 or 7 times in Grade 1 company. Never won one, but you know, some people want winners, some people want the best performance you can possibly get out of
if he'd been Gordon Elliott, you might have said, oh, maybe he'll hang on for a handicap there. But yeah, the Bromhead, I always think goes to the graded races as well. So.
Well, and of course he won
but then, like Tom was saying, you need a Grade 1 winner to win the handicaps anyway.
Yeah, true. You need a Grade 1 winner to win every race, pretty much. Okay, that's the most of the horses in the Arkle mentioned. David, obviously a strong reaction to Edwardstone at the weekend. He's a firm 2-to-1 favourite here. Is there any other angles in here, betting-wise, that we haven't mentioned?
No, I'm merely going to prove to Luke Salmon that I also am mad because, again, I'm in total agreement with everything that's been said. He went into the weekend as 3-to-1 joint favourite with Blue Lord. I think we were all expecting a really good Kingmaker. You know, third time lucky taking him on again. Brave Shashka in there as well. And I thought Edwardstone won with the absolute complete authority. And I can't remember. I thought I read or heard afterwards Dan Skelton perhaps not that keen to go to Cheltenham with a third time lucky, having been beaten now twice by Edwardstone. But I could have well imagined that, so don't take that as gospel. But I'm a massive fan of this horse. The Alan King factor wouldn't worry me at all. If you haven't got the ammunition to go to the festival and win races, then not a lot you can do about that. He's proved time and time again in the past, if he's got the ammunition, he is more than capable of hitting the target, and he's got the ammunition with this horse. And I don't know, it won't make the horse run 1 yard faster, but Tom Cannon is a really underrated jockey. He goes about his job very, very quietly, and it'd be lovely to see him ride a big, big winner, and I think he will.
Okay, it was 2-1. I must say, by the way, it wasn't a slight on Alan King's ability at all. It was more that every single top-class British trainer, apart from Nicky Henderson, seems to turn up at Cheltenham with chances year after year. And then over the past few years, it's Mullins, Elliott, last year de Bromhead and Henderson. So it's certainly nothing against Alan King, that is for sure. What wins the Arkle, and is there any angle in before we move on?
I had a good look to see if I could find one at a bigger price, but I just couldn't get away from Edwardstone, who I think will win.
Okay. Tom?
Yeah, I think Edwardstone. I dropped the ball, Ross, and I didn't mention the horse that I think has completely gone under the radar, and that is Henry de Bromhead's other runner, Magic Days, who is about a 33-to-1 shot. but she was second in the mare's hurdle last year, and she pulled way too hard. Tell Me Something Girl beat her. They had a 1-2 for the stable. She, like the previous Arkle winner of Henry John, is a mare, so she'll get the weight. She was electric at Cork. She won by 25 lengths 2 starts ago, and then her jumping sort of fell apart last time. I don't know what happened when she ran last time, but I think she's being aimed at the Arkle. I think that's been the plan all along. She's not been seen since the 5th of December, where and was at Cork again, where she ran badly. But I think she's an interesting filly. She is. She's an interesting mare. She jumps really well. She liked the better ground, and getting the weight allowance in an average race, given her Cheltenham Festival form, I don't think she's a 33-1 shot if she arrives in the race in good form. But whether she can beat Edwardstone's a different matter. But those out there looking for one at a price should just have a look down, get on your Racing Post website and have a look at Magic Days winning at Cork 2 starts ago. You'll be impressed, that's for sure.
Okay, Magic Days then, who went off about 1,000,000 miles an hour without too keen at Cheltenham last season and ran a cracker. Quick price boost before we move on, David.
Yes, of course, and it is about the favourite Edwardstone. He won the Kingmaker by 4 1/4. Can he beat that? Can he win the Arkle by more than 4 1/4? Was 5-1, now 6-1 for Edwardstone backers that want to see him win it well. 6-1.
Lovely stuff. Right, let's go back in time then to the first race of the festival 2022. We've got the Supreme Novices Hurdle potentially. As we've been saying, if all the market leaders turn up, we could have the best race of the week. It's first off the conveyor belt. Constitution Hill is 2-1 favourite here. Dysart Dynamo 3-1. Sir Gerhard 4-1. John Bond 5-1. So 2 Mullins and 2 Henderson horses looking very tasty indeed. Kilcrut has been cut recently. He's another Mullins horse at 9-1. Mighty Potter, of course, is already a Grade 1 winner, is 14-1. El Fabiolo 14-1. State Man is 16-1, and it is bigger price as the rest. So. If your name's not Nicky Henderson or Willie Mullins in the Supreme Novices this year, Tom, you're having to scroll down quite a way in the betting. This could be an absolute corker. I know there's talk of horses going for Ballymore's and various other kind of angles, but fingers crossed that at least the top 4 in the betting turn up and face each other, because that's what we want.
I think it's very unlikely that Willie Mullins runs both Dysart Diamond and Sir Gerhard, to be honest. I think one of them will split. I think they'll split them up and go another way. I think Nicky Henderson's 2 will run. It's hard not to have been impressed by Constitution Hill, but it's a different kettle of fish running up Sandown in the mud in the winter to Cheltenham on the thing. I mean, I love Constitution Hill as a horse. I think he's an absolute superstar, but there's a different kettle of fish against these horses. I think he's definitely the one to beat. But of the Mullins lot, I think Sir Gerhard is the one I'm most interested in, because I thought the time was good the other day against when he won at Leopardstown, the Dublin Racing Festival. The horse he beat was good. There was Grade 1 winners tailed off behind him. I just think he's perfect for the race because he'll, get out there, get out front. And anyone who saw the bumper last year can't believe he's a slow horse. He's flat bred. He's bred to be a fast horse. So he'd be my main danger to Constitution Hill. But I think the Big 4 became a Big 5 at Punchestown the other day because Kilcrut was, I thought, massively impressive. The time was exceptionally good at Punchestown, and he hit the line really hard. I'm not surprised there's been money for him, because when one or the other of the Mullins horses goes the other way, I'm not surprised he's now a 9-1 shot. I'm personally hoping that Sir Gerhard runs, because I'd like him and Constitution Hill to go head-to-head. If Sir Gerhard goes the other way, I might be tempted to have a little bit each way on Kilcrut.
Okay. I looked into this, the Mullins angle, Tom, and obviously I was looking at his Ballymore runners, and he's only, I think since 2008, I think he's only had one runner in the Ballymore who had not been tested over further than 2 miles before, whereas he always seems to run a batch in the Supreme Novices, even when he wins it. I mean, Classical Dream, there was Aramon went off a single figure price. I think when a few years ago, the likes of Una 2 went off a single figure price as well, behind, it might well have been Min and Altior. But and even last year, of course, he had Appreciate and Blue Lord, who would have finished 1-2. So he actually has a real tendency of running 2 or more very quality horses in the Supreme. In the Ballymore, he doesn't have a fantastic record in it, and he seems to have the stronger stayers go for that. So I kind of think they both might turn up.
Yeah, I don't know. I think I don't know. I just think that the thing about the Mullins horses is that every single one that's won at the Dublin Racing Festival since the race came back to 2 miles has ended up in the Supreme. Classical Dream, who are now talking about a Stayers hurdle horse, went to the Supreme and won it. Asturian Falange did the same, and now he's running in King George's and stuff. So I just think that being a trainers are creatures of habit. I think Sir Gerhard will go there. I think he'll try and split them up because I think he wants winners, Willie Mullins, and I think he might think he can win the other race. Dysart Diamonds by Westerner out of an accordion mare. He should stay, no problem. I know he's quite keen, but he won a bumper over 2 miles 2 already. I think that's the way they'll go personally. Okay. Kilcrut, clearly, I didn't think stayed 2.5 miles when he ran against Journey with me. So I think he'll go back to 2 miles. I think it's going to be a fantastic race. I'm hoping it's a Constitution Hill Sir Gerhard battle myself.
Okay. Yeah, of course. Since the DRF, it's a little bit different, but Dysart Dynamo won the Moscow Flyer, of course, where Get a Bird, Min, Duvan, and Vortor all won and then went to the Supreme. So, we're not even talking about what wins the race. We're talking about what might turn up and might win it. Sam Caney says no wrong answers in this race. It's going to be a hell of an opener, and I hope he's right. We could have a fairly big field. Like I said, Mighty Potters should be a dual Grade 1 winner, and he's 14-1. So it's a cracking race, Graeme. What's top of your list?
Oh, yeah. This is an absolutely fantastic race, and I can't wait for this one to kick us off. It's probably one of the races of the whole week.
It's downhill from here.
Apart from Shishkin and the nursery. I think that the top 3 in the betting there, we're looking at 3 really top class 2 mile hurdlers or 2.5 mile hurdlers, whether they decide to go that way with Dysart Dynamo. But I think those 3 are the real superstars in the race. Constitution Hill, Dysart Dynamo and Sir Gerhard. Sir Gerhard ran really fast at Leopardstown. I wasn't impressed with his jumping at all. Thought he made several mistakes. But the fact he was able to still run so quickly suggests that he's got an awful lot of ability, and if he does jump better in the Supreme, then he can obviously win it. But I think he will need to jump better than he did at Leopardstown.
I mean, it's kind of a race on his own, wasn't it? It'd be interesting to see how he reacts with an actual field of horses.
It was an easy sort of lead, wasn't it? And only Three Stripe Life put it up to him, and he's had a couple of like when he won the bumper, it was a bit like that, wasn't he? He just jumped off in front and had too much speed for them. Yeah, we've had this sort of chat before, haven't we, about is that a good prep for Cheltenham, then going into a huge field Supreme? We'll find out, won't we? I'm a huge Constitution Hill fan. I think that he's got a massive amount of natural ability, and I'm hoping that Britain can get off to a flyer by winning this one and the Racing Post Sporting Life Arkle, whatever they call it now. And I think that Constitution Hill is the most likely winner, but obviously the market says that. 2, I do not fancy John Bond at all. I think he's the most overrated horse in training. Last time out at Haydock, he would have been lapped by Tommy's Oscar. Tommy's Oscar ran the race 5 seconds quicker than him. So that's 30 lengths for a start. Now, I know that they were completely different races. Obviously, there was a lot of pace in the race that Tommy's Oscar ran, and John Bond was a bit of a sprint up the straight and a slow pace. But even so, 5 seconds, that's 30 lengths. If John Bond's that good, then Tommy's Oscar must be a champion hurdle horse, which he might be, but I don't think so. So Kilcrot has already been beaten a couple of times, hasn't he? He was good last time, but I don't think that he's in the same league as those top 3. I just really do think we're looking at 3 top class horses at the top, and I hope they all run. If Dysart Dynamo goes or elsewhere, or Sir Gerhard goes elsewhere. I thought Dysart Dynamo was the most likely to run here, and Sir Gerhard would go further. That was what I thought until I saw Sir Gerhard run at Leopardstown.
Yeah.
And he looked really speedy, and I thought, I'm not sure I want to taking him up in trip. I thought maybe 2 miles. I don't know. It's Willie Mullins. He probably doesn't even know what he's going to do yet. Willie Mullins.
No.
I think he has like a meeting on the Saturday before Cheltenham and says, where are we going to put these ones? I bet he doesn't even know himself.
Or he listens to what everyone else says that he's going to do.
Oh,
and does
yeah,
the complete opposite.
Yeah, probably.
Which is fair enough.
I'm just excited for the race.
Yeah.
I think Constitution Hill will win, and I think that we've got 3 top horses at the top of the market. And I think that after this race, they'll go on and they'll prove themselves to be champion hurdle horses, and if they go over fences, they'll be champion chase horses and gold. These are real stars, these horses, I think.
Yeah, this could be. I mean, the Supreme that Shishkin won with Abacadabra and Edwardstone and Chancery House and What else was in there? Heaven Help Us. And, Galvin, I think, was in there
There's
as
been
well.
loads of them there. There was the one that Sprinter Sacra ran in, and was it Spirit Sun was in one.
Yeah.
And,
Hopefully
it's always a good race. It should be, shouldn't it? It's the Supreme. Apart from last year's race, which was absolutely awful, wasn't it?
It was. But even then, you've even then, it just hasn't worked out for a lot of those horses. We don't know how good the winner is, do we? We haven't seen him. So,
no, it could come out and win champion.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So who knows? Constitution.
Kilcroit reminds me a bit of him, actually. Appreciate it. He reminds me a little bit of him. And
appreciate it. Surprised me how good he was last year, even though he didn't beat that much. So we can't completely rule him out. We can't completely, like I said, there's other ones as well. I mean, if they were trained by different people, you'd think El Fabiola would be very interesting. Very good time for where is it? I've completely lost it now. It's that far down the page. Adamantly Chosen, who bolted up the other day at Thurles. He could be interesting, but he's a 5-year-old by Willie Mullins, who's 66 to 1. So cracking Supreme Novices hurdle, David.
It really is. Yeah, what a way to start the festival. In terms of those towards the head of the betting, there, I'm a big Dysart Dynamo fan. I mean, visually it punches down and he just looked absolutely stunning. And I'm with you on this, Ross. I expect Willie Mullins, and Rodders, you're absolutely right. Willie himself won't know what's running and what at this stage, but it wouldn't surprise me at all that Dysart Dynamo, Sir Gerhard and Kilcroft all rock up here. They're all owned by different people, which I think will probably help as well. And I just thought of the three market principles, the very first three in the betting, because I mean, we're dismissing John Bon, which seems madness really given his record, but I totally get where Rodders is coming from about him. Constitutionally, I don't know. I look at a 12-length winner of the Tolworth Hurdle, and I just think Metier. And again, Constitution Hill could be a completely different animal to Metier at all, but just a question mark when you win a Tolworth in January, going on to the Supreme on very different ground. And Sir Gerhard, I thought, looked brilliant last time. He's favourite for the Ballymore with us. Not that that means anything, because as I say, Willie Mullins will not make up his mind until much closer to the time. But Dysart Dynamo, I'm hoping, like all of you, I'm hoping that they all turn up and give us a curtain raiser to absolutely savour.
Yeah, absolutely. We had quite a few questions for this race as well. Well, I say rapidly running out of time. We're already past time. But very quickly, in one sentence, Tom, of all the high-calibre novice hurdlers, who jumps the best, says Michael Coleman?
Oh, good question. Don't know. Definitely not Sir Gerhard on what we've seen, because you couldn't have him. And John Bon jumps quite well. It's interesting, John Bon. On pedigree, he's the one that should definitely be going up in trip, I think. No one seems to be talking about him going for the Ballymore. I wouldn't be surprised if that was the route he goes. He looks to stay really strongly for me. I know he's been a bit keen, but he wasn't keen the other day. So he would be interesting for me if he went up in trip. But as jumpers go, Constitution Hill's a very good jumper, isn't he? Hasn't put a foot wrong yet in 2 races. So to answer your man's question, Constitution Hill's probably the best jumper.
Okay, very well. And I do hope Dysart Dynamo goes for this, takes on the rest, and we get a bigger prize, because I do think he looked a bit of a monster in the Moscow Flyer. So possibly the best race of the week, first winner of the week, Graeme.
Yeah, I'm with Constitution Hill again. Another British winner, hopefully, Ross. That is the main reason I'm with him, just to stick off with a patriotic punt to kick off the week, and then Edwardstone will go in, and then we'll all start to go, oh, actually, yeah, maybe the British will win, and then the Irish will win everything, won't they?
Yeah. Personally, I'm going to be betting to make a profit.
What, you don't bet from a patriotic perspective?
I was accidentally born here. But Cheltenham Supreme Novices Hurdle then. What wins it, Tom?
I'm hoping Sir Gerhard wins. But I do really fear Constitution Hill. I do think Kilcrut's got a chance as well. I was hoping that he might be a bit bigger than he is now, because they've cottoned on to him. But I'm hoping Sir Gerhard's the one.
Okay, and I hope Dysart Dynamo is the one. So that's the first 3 in the bet. We're all completely split on that. David, you get the deciding vote. What wins the Supreme?
I'm siding with you, both on the fact that I punt winners not where they're trained, and I also think Dysart Dynamo will win this first. But if you're in the Nicky Henderson camp, and it's not just Constitutional and John Bon with him, as you say, he's got others in there as well. Even money that Nicky Henderson trains this Supreme winner was 4 to 5. Even money, Nicky Henderson, to get Graeme waving his Union Jack after this Supreme Novices.
There you go. Yes, it's got the underpants on, I'm sure, in preparation.
I tell you, if Britain win the first 2 races, I'll be thinking we can win the champion hurdle as well.
Yeah, I thought you were going to do Kevin Keegan then for a second. I'd love it if we beat them, but that's what I want to see. If we win the first 2, I want you to go full Keegan, haircut and everything. We'll have a quick look at what we've got to look at this weekend, and then we'll wrap it up. And I'll go and miss my train again. What have we got then on Saturday? We've got the Reynolstown, we've got the Rendlesham, we've got the Kingwell, we've got the Ascot Chase, and we've got a bit more besides. What's the most interesting horse potentially entered at the weekend, Tom, for you? Does he know? Obviously, Thomas Derby, Goshen, Adagio, and an Ascot Chase with quite a few top-class names, or just below top-class names. That could be a cracker.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to seeing how Adagio gets on against Goshen at Wincanton. If he can beat him, then I think I don't know, he can beat Honeysuckle, but he adds another further bit of spice to the Champion Hurdle, which is lacking a bit of spice at the moment. So I'm looking forward to seeing the Kingwell, really. Adagio can beat Goshen on soft ground round Wincanton, then he's a proper horse.
Okay, there we go. Yeah, Adagio could well be an interesting angle in and turn up for a Champion Hurdle outsider. Graeme, what are you looking forward to the most?
Yeah, no, he is interesting actually, Adagio. Yeah, a price for the champion.
Obviously, it comes out. I mean, we were talking about we haven't really talked about the Beffa Hurdle very much, but those 2 mile handicap hurdles have really worked out. Interesting.
Yeah, that was a great one, wasn't it? He finished it off top weight. Yeah, Mr. Fisher is the horse that I want to see. I'm not sure he's going to run, because there's a lot of rain forecast, and he likes good ground, doesn't he? But he's in the Ascot Chase, and I just wonder if maybe that form last time at Kempton's been a little bit underestimated. Obviously, Eldorado LM was beaten a length or two in second. Mr. Fisher thrashed him. But I watched the race back today, and Rouge Vif was right with them at the third last, and he ended up being beaten 51 lengths by the first two. Obviously, Eldorado LM's come out and won at Newbury. I just wonder if Mr. Fisher might have been right back to his best. That he's a good horse, yeah. Mr. Fisher, on his day.
I was in here when he won at Kempton, and we said, this is the perfect race for him, the Ascot Chase, because you're not going to get the complete big guns. In theory, he's not going to get a massive field that will get him out of his rhythm. And of course, your Kempton, your Ascots, he relishes those tests as well. He
just would really like good ground, and there's loads of rain forecast all week. So, but I just wonder if
he won the Peterborough pretty bad conditions.
Yeah, he did. Yeah. Well, maybe I'm just hoping they don't run because I want to back him for Cheltenham.
Yeah, fair enough. David, what are you most looking forward to this weekend?
Well, it all sounds very repetitious, but Adagio likewise. I mean, he's 25 to 1 for the Champion Hurdle, which I'm looking down. I think makes him the shortest priced British trained runner at the moment. So he could only enhance his claims with a victory there. And in that Ascot Chase, it's a Grade 1. It's a cracking race in its own right, but lost in translation. For a yard now, the Tizard in flying form. I'm hoping he can bounce back and set himself up for a tilt at the Gold Cup.
Lovely stuff. Right, that just about brings the show to an end. Gary Stewart had a fantastic question about how we separate novices when they've all got overlapping form lines, but maybe we'll leave that to next week, or when we get into another novice hurdle, and we'll ask that question, Gary, so thank you for that. If you do have any questions for next week, put them in the comments section at the bottom, and I'll try and squeeze them into a jam-packed show. But it's been a good night. What's if one horse we mentioned tonight that you would back, Graeme?
What? The whole caboodle thing?
Yeah, whatever we've mentioned tonight.
What did I say was my best bet of the night?
I don't know, that's why I'm asking you.
What was the second one that we did? What was the second race? The Arkle. Edward Stone.
Edward Stone, there we go. It's been a long night. It's been a long night for Graeme, who's been sipping from Prosecco under the desk. Tom, can you remember the question I'm asking?
Yeah, I'm looking forward to seeing, obviously, the obvious one, Shishkin, Edward Stone, but Sir Gerhard for me in the Supreme. I think he's a superstar, and I hope he runs there.
Okay, very well. And I have had a bet this afternoon, a little dabble on Cur Sublime at a big price for the Arkle, hoping he turns up and we get a smallish field. David, same question to you.
And I'm going to give the same answer as Graeme, but I'm going to say it a bit quicker. Edward Stone.
Lovely stuff. Well, thank you ever so much for everyone for watching. Monday nights in the know, all the way up to Cheltenham. And hopefully we will find a few dice anti-prost prices and get a few winners come March. Thank you to Graeme, thank you to Tom, thank you to David, thank you to Harry, Derham for joining us with such an excellent bunch of answers as well. And thank you to you for watching at home. I've been Ross Brierley. I hope you have a good week, and we'll see you same time next week for more of the same.